time that hold on, hello YouTube people. Hold on, you're totally crooked. The YouTube people are totally crooked. There we go. Now they're fine. Hello YouTube people, and welcome to Living on a Thin Line. I had to be nice to them. We got to be equal with everyone. That's what we're doing right now. So back to that. For those of you that hit a certain age, one day you look in the mail and you got an AARP card, and I'm not ready. But then slowly, a couple of years, you toss it in the trash. I'm really crazy. I'm not even never retired. But then then at some point, I remember I was going to see a movie in a movie theater. Remember those movie theaters? We all went and parked someplace and went in these large buildings and paid tickets to sit in chairs with gum on the floor and watch movies on giant screens while people talked. I was going to see a movie and I went, wait a minute, do you have an AARP discount? And they said, yeah, and I got 10% off my ticket. So they got a buck off my ticket or $1.50. And I went, pretty good. And then all of a sudden, that seemed like a weird thing. Doesn't seem like a weird thing. It's like when I was when my back was really bothering me a few years back. I was at the grocery store. You see people roll around those motorized grocery carts, and poor bastards. And you go, that doesn't look like a bad idea. Slowly but surely, Paul Whitney, we evolve. And the idea of being in my 70s and living in a 2-story house and then having one of those chairs that goes up and down might not be a bad idea. Might not be a bad idea. I might get a Paul just for fun and invite you over, Paul, and you and I can take turns riding up and down it. What do you think? I'm talking to, by the way, the guy who commented was Paul Whitney. Very funny guy. He's supposed to have his own YouTube channel up soon. The man with too many action figures. Hilarious. I have seen the live performance of this and also seen some of the proto YouTube stuff. So you want to watch for that. The man with too many action figures. So it's Sunday. As soon as it's over, I'll go down and I'll watch the game. I don't know if there's any fans in the audience. I don't care if people are kneeling beforehand. I don't care about any of that. I always thought that was a little silly. Not that they were kneeling. I've always thought that the reaction to it was, but then again, you can't really control your reactions to things. I know people who are so bothered by it that they won't watch football, not politically, but because just their response to it, which I'm sure if you wanted to dive a little deeper, you might be a little shocked by the reason you feel that way, but I don't know. So none of that bothers me. I'll watch the game. Anything that is semi-pseudo normal right now that I can engage in safely, I'm going to be. So it's going to be a fun game for me because these are two teams that I followed, especially the St. Louis Rams during the Kurt Warner era. They were just stunning. And the St. Louis Cardinals during the Don Coryell era. So I've got emotional attachments from different eras to both these teams. Plus, I like the Arizona Cardinals because they have a quarterback who's only 5'8" tall. Did you know that? Kyle Murray is only 5'8" tall, and he's a badass. So he's like the Sonny Barger of football. Why is he like the Sonny Barger of football? Because Sonny Barger, the president of the Hells Angels, the legendary Sonny Barger, or the criminal Sonny Barger, although, whatever. He was only 5'8", and he controlled the entire Hells Angels at one time. And Kyler Murray, therefore, is the Hells Angel of American football. So I'll be looking at that. This afternoon, right after the show. Want to thank Manny Hernandez for a great weekend at JP's Comedy Club, jpscomedyclub.com, 860 East Warner Road, Gilbert, Arizona, where you can see live stand-up comedy shows in a safe, social distance setting, masks are required. And if you have the need to get out, and you want to get out someplace safe, you don't just go, well, grocery store again. Well, then I tell you what, when you go to JP's Comedy Club, you will encounter less bad behavior than you do currently at the grocery store. At the grocery store, so many people are stressed out. You always got, it's always a couple of white guys. They said I'm a white guy, run around, no mask on, sneering at everyone, and then people just parking in the aisles and stand there forever and looking at you like you're a Typhoid Mary if you try to get past them. So a lot of bad behavior at grocery stores. Okay, but not a lot of bad behavior at JP's Comedy Club. Just good times. These are the good times. So we do it again this weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So come check it out. We'll have a good time. Here's my current plan, and that might change by this evening. But my current plan, I don't know what your current plan is, but right now I'm paying everything off. Everything that I can possibly pay off, I'm paying off. Now, it's a kick in the pocketbook. But everything I can pay off, I'm paying off, because I think the first quarter of 2021 may be rough. I was wrong about the stock market, by the way, in March. I thought it was going to collapse, and it didn't. But I am paying everything off to get our expenses down, whittled down to as little as possible, so that you're hearing rumors right now of hospitals, and I'm going to double check. I don't want to spread rumors, but hospitals that no longer have any ICU beds. You get conflicting things. People go, cases are going up, but deaths are going down. Well, that's good. That's very good. I don't know what the long-term debilitation is of corona, or if I got it, if I would be okay. And now I'm a few months ago, people were saying, well, I don't even know if he was gonna. Do you know if he was gonna? See, I don't even know a single person. Well, now I know a lot of people who have it, a lot of people and a good number of people in my industry. So you guys be careful out there, okay? And so I don't know what the first quarter is going to hold, okay? I don't know what it's going to hold economically for other people. So we are paying off everything, and that's totally different, 180 degrees different from the way we were approaching the year at the beginning of 2020. At the beginning of the year, we looked at our year and said, we're probably going to have our best year ever. We were able to raise ticket prices and able to pay the artists a heck at our shows at the Tempe Center for the Arts. We had put a lot of money out across the country to begin traveling and touring with a group of comics and taking our brand of workshop to other cities and other states. And we said we're going to invest in ourselves. So we laid out a lot of money at the beginning of the year. But now as we get to the end of the year, we're thinking the wisest thing to do is to have as many things paid off as possible. You know, the problem right now is in March and April and May, we had massive lockdowns. A lot of people participated, and the government stepped in. The one good thing that you could say happened during this administration, and while the Republicans were in the majority in the Senate, was the massive stimulus package that was laid out back in the spring that saved a lot of people's asses. So now the pandemic is worse than it was then. The death rate is higher, over 2,500 people a day. More people going to the hospital. No package. And besides that, one of the most important parts of the package, which was direct aid to you and to me, those $1,200 checks. I don't know, did you go out and spend it on dope? Did you go out and buy a bunch of whiskey? Did you buy a motorboat? I don't know if you get a motorboat for $1,200. You did it to help yourself out financially. That's not even on the table. The $1,200 isn't on the table. All sorts of other things on the table, and God knows what they are. $904 billion, and Mitch McConnell doesn't want to give any aid to state and local governments, and no $1,200 check. Loans. There'll be loans that you got to pay back. So if I were you, and I am me, and I kicked off the idea way back when they extended unemployment benefits. I said it's a crime that people who've been 1099 employees, and I know a lot of 1099 employees because I'm in the entertainment business, so comics are almost always 1099 employees. In other words, if we're making $2,000 in a week, and I know that sounds like a lot of money to some people, it's not, okay? But you got to remember the next week, there might not be any work. You might be off. You might be off for 2 weeks. So then at 2,000 spread over 3 weeks, it's not that much. Or you might have to be gone from your family for 6 months. I pushed along the idea. Now, I wasn't part of making the idea. that gig workers should be able to participate in unemployment, and they did that. Two of the most important things that kept this economy going through the spring and the summer into the fall: the $1,200 direct payment, along with $500 payment for any dependent children per person. The extension of unemployment benefits actually saved this economy. Neither one of those are on the table. So all we can do is laugh and have a good time and watch football games, ladies and gentlemen, and enjoy yourselves. And you know what? And if it's a nice day out, go out and spend the day outside. The great thing about where we live is I've got a huge park, and I've been able to get out the entire time. Peggy Cochran, who is a woman who I have dying wonderful feelings for. She was my English teacher in high school and several other classes. Peggy says, and it's so cool that we're still connected, says, we have to win these 2 Senate seats in Georgia. I'm here working in Georgia to make that happen. Otherwise, no new decent stimulus is forthcoming. Wow. Wow, Peggy, my hat, if I was wearing a hat, I'm taking my imaginary hat off to you. You've gone to Georgia and you're working on a campaign. We did a lot of work here in Arizona, for the Biden, to have Biden and Kamala Harris elected and Mark Kelly. And we did a lot of good stuff here, but I didn't travel to another state. So you always were one of those. And one of those is about the best thing I can say. You were just a wonderful person in high school when you were a teacher, and you're a wonderful person now. So I don't know what else we can do, Peggy. I mean, the place is flooded with money. So I don't know if we should, I watched Trump's rally yesterday, and I'm going, my goodness. I mean, I had a English professor my freshman year of college. By the way, I only went to a year and a half. But actually, while I was in high school, I jumped ahead of things and then I fell behind. Jumped ahead, and I was taking a college course while I was in high school. And he told us something that has always stayed with me. He said, it's okay to like bad art as long as you understand that it's bad art. And he explained it like this. It's okay to have a towel with a picture of the Mona Lisa imprinted on it as long as you don't think it's the actual Mona Lisa. It's okay to like what he called kitsch. Okay? And I know the monster truck rallies, just watching one truck crash up another truck, has a certain appeal. And I know that professional wrestling, Paul Whitney, who's on here, is a great friend of mine, loves professional wrestling. He knows it's not real. It's where you put your silly stuff. It's where you put your silly stuff. As I'm watching Trump's rally yesterday, I go, this is part of the silly stuff entertainment. Like professional wrestling, which does require a certain degree of athleticism and skill. But it's not real. It's a show. All these reality shows that people have been watching for the last 20 or 30 years. I remember the first one happened, Survivor Island or something way back. I was on tour, and I was talking to a booking agent while I was in a hotel someplace, I think in Boise, Idaho, or Seattle, Washington. Guy knew, and I go, do you know about these? And he goes, yeah. He goes, those are all fixed. So and haven't been involved in a couple reality shows in my life at a very minor level. I know that they're all fixed. Okay. Paul Whitney says there are days I think Vince McMahon is managing Trump's campaign. Well, his wife ran for the United States Senate in Connecticut. So I'm watching Trump's rally yesterday, a few minutes of it. I can't watch the whole thing. And I go, this is silly stuff entertainment. This is like professional wrestling. This is like monster truck rally. It's like goofball stuff. It's like me collecting bobbleheads and being all semi-pseudo serious. I don't collect them, by the way. I rescue bobbleheads. Yeah, almost got me. It's all, and it's not how you run a nation. So, and I guess Saturday Night Live, there was a woman who, the people that are getting to testify, I mean, at what point do you just laugh them out of the room? At what point, Rudy Giuliani stand in front of a garage door, in front of a tractor place, I think, next to a Poro bookstore, or him with goo running down the side of his face, or him breaking wind so loud it can be heard while sitting next to a woman who's half drunk, just spouting insanity, you go, all right, if this is the guy's people, maybe the guy ain't the guy. At what point do you do that? I don't know. I mean, you know what? I find myself sometimes just devolving into silly stuff. That's why I collect things. I collect things because they're silly and they're fun. I'll show you something I bought recently. I got it right back here. I'm bringing it forward. And it's almost like reliving my adolescence. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's the Fantastic Four. Look at that artwork. Isn't that great? That is the Fantastic Four. This is number 61. Only 12 cents. By the way, if you're going to collect comic books, you know, the ones that are going to have any money at all, whether we worth something, are the ones that are 10 cents or 12 cents. Okay. This is the world's greatest comic magazine, Fantastic Four. And this epical issue, the end of Mr. Fantastic, where stalks the Sandman. Now, supposedly this is the introduction of the Sandman, who then became quite a central bad guy for the Fantastic Four. So I collected these things when I was a kid and lost track of all of them. And so now my grandson and I go to a comic book store in town. Okay, we go to a comic book store in town. And where I would normally be spending money going to Los Angeles, going to St. Louis, going to New York, I'm occasionally buying one of these. But they're really fun to collect because the artwork is so cool. It's solid. It's real. It's something you can hold on to like a coin. And I was more of a Spider-Man guy than a Fantastic Four guy. Definitely a Marvel comic guy. I don't know where you guys come down on that sort of thing. You can tell we've moved on from what was a unnecessarily serious political rant. Where you come down on a DC Comics or Marvel Comics. But as a little boy, of course, I was a DC comic guy. But then as Marvel got into the superhero game, like many, I just switched over immediately to the Hulk, Iron Man, Fantastic Four, featuring The Thing, by the way, and, of course, Spider-Man. So I don't know if that's something that we want to talk about going into the future. This week, by the way, starting tomorrow, here on Living on a Thin Line with Tony Vicich, we're going to start talking about, we're going to have we're going to come up with a list of the greatest drum openings in the rock era. Songs, famous rock songs, maybe not famous, I don't know. Well, here's some that open up with a short mini drum intro. Okay. And some of the ones that we're talking about, of course, are songs like Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin, Be My Baby by the Ronettes, When the Levee Breaks by Led Zeppelin, By the way, I want to show Shirley something here before it gets too late, because we're going to get on to the music that we're going to recommend today. We're going to go with, on this album, Cheryl, we're going to go with, I'll just introduce this now. Okay, here's who we're talking about today. We're talking about Patti Smith, the High Priestess of Punk, a woman who is not only a great singer-songwriter, artist, okay, and we're going to recommend, there's a lot of great stuff in this 1975 album. Land is the name of it. The number 3 cut on side 2, Land, which is a combination of the song Horses by Patti Smith and Land of a Thousand Dances. That was a Wilson Pickett tune, but then put through a punk strainer. So this album came out in 1975. All right. And it was an important album in 1970s music. When you think of 1970s music, now I'm not a disco hater. I really didn't care for it at the time it came out. It's simplistic. It's goofy. To me, it's like professional wrestling. It's not real. There's not a lot of artistry to it unless you're listening like Chic, because there was a lot of great stuff there. Or the Spinners, or the OJs, or the Ohio Players. Anyway, it kind of pushed rock out of the forefront for a while. But while disco seemed to be like kudzu taking over radios, while disco seemed to be like kudzu taking over every nightclub, important things were happening in music in the mid 70s. A lot of the greats of the 60s had kind of reached their zenith in the early 70s. The guys in Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, who had been made some great 60s music. The band itself was kind of a zenith. The Grateful Dead's Europe 72, Rolling Stones, Exile on Main Street, Bob Dylan within a couple of years doing Blood on the Tracks. So, Peggy, yeah, you want a lot of disco. That's what Peggy Cochran said. I like to jump around a lot for a lot of reasons back then. They had kind of reached their zenith in the early 70s. So by the mid 70s, something new was pushing along. And it was in the mid 70s as disco seemed to take over everything. The thing that was pushing against it on the airwaves and with the music companies was, of course, Southern rock, started by the Allman Brothers. Allman Brothers just was a rock band, but their sound was so unique that they gave birth to something called Southern rock. And you had bands like Leonard Skinner and Marshall Tucker Band and the Outlaws and so many other guitar-based, triple lead guitarist bands coming along. That was going on. And on the other side of things, punk was bubbling up with the Sex Pistols and the Clash coming out of England. And in America, the Talking Heads and Patti Smith. And Patti Smith's album, Horses, was one of the most important albums of the mid 70s. It was produced by John Cale. Okay. And it was one of the most important albums in introducing a new type of music and infusing something that the Talking Heads really kind of perfected, which was art in rock that is still defiant, that is still rock, poetry in rock, which it was beginning to go by the wayside with the disco era, or even with the Southern boogie bands, reintroducing poetry into rock, reintroducing dangerous themes in rock. All of this was beginning in the mid 70s. And one of the important albums that popped up was Patti Smith's Horses. So it was an album that so impressed me, even though it wasn't my kind of music. It wasn't my kind of music at all. When it came out, I went out and bought it because I went, this is just stunning. So if you check out Patti Smith's Land, you'll hear a song that is bold and audacious. It's a combination of rock and punk and pop and dance music and poetry, that I can't think of anything else that even fits into its category. So it's a great tune to listen to. Also, her version of Gloria on here is just fun. It's a real punk version of Gloria, the old Them tune, the old Van Morrison tune, Van Morrison's first hit to the band called Them, and it was Gloria. So you want to check that out, okay? Check out Patti Smith was also Sam Shepard's girlfriend. His plays Cowboy Mouth, and there was a couple of them were based on he and Patti writing a play together while drunk and high, in a dingy room at the Chelsea Hotel. It's some of the greatest American theater of the 70s or 80s and 90s. Bob Rocky says, play some Scorps. You mean Scorpions? What do you need, Bob? Do you need on Sunday to be rocked like a hurricane? I got a kick out of that stuff, too. I got a kick out of that glam stuff in the 80s. But once again, the problem oftentimes was the less than music. The goofy music pushed out the great music. And we finally have seen a culmination of that, I think, in politics. As for the last 4 years, the goofy had pushed out the good, because maybe the good had become, had allowed great to be enemy of the good in our quest for some sort of moral perfection on the left. I'm on the left. We are not morally perfect, nor are we interested in being so. You know what we are interested in doing? We're actually going to catch some football today. So we're going to go and we're going to watch that. Thanks for listening to this rambling diatribe that I did today. Hi to everyone who joined in. I appreciate it so much. I'm here every day except Saturday at 2 p.m. living on a thin line. Starting tomorrow, and you want to go and you want to check it out so you can begin making your recommendations. The 10 greatest drum openings during the rock era. And we'll take it from rock and roll to rock. We'll take it all the way up, okay? From rock and roll to rock, the 10 greatest drum openings. Not a drum solo in the middle. So Inagata Vita doesn't count. Okay, but we're gonna start working on that. So I'm interested in hearing what your questions and comments will be, because we're gonna take the whole week talking about it, along with other fun stuff and pseudo semi-serious stuff right here on Living on a Thin Line with Tony Vicich. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow at 2. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, YouTubers. When suddenly horses coming down and out.